Hello y'all, this is Red Flood, a mod for Hearts of Iron 4 set in a world where no one actually won World War I. We're going to play as one of the most recognizable countries in this mod, that being Avant-Garde France. For some backstory, liberal democracy in the country collapsed after the Great War. After a period of chaos, Action Française took over. This would last until 1931 when the economy fell apart. Seeing this as an opportunity, Antonin Artaud and the Front National de l'Avant-Garde rallied the masses and seized power. We begin with three national spirits: divided nation, la terre future, and abolishment of the French army. The ruling ideology is accelerationist of the ethno-futurist variety, and the country leader is Antonin Artaud, who has enacted multiple measures to secure his power, such as using paramilitaries, banning parties, and suppressing any activity that would go against him. Antonin Artaud historically was an actor, writer, poet, dramatist, visual artist, essayist, and theater director. He was a big deal when it came to the European avant-garde and is known for using surreal and transgressive themes in his work. He did not shy away from the use of drugs and spent some time in asylums as well as experiencing schizophrenia. With all this said, some could say he is a larger-than-life individual. Inspecting the military, the army has 51 divisions, 36 being infantry, 12 being motorized, and 3 light tank. The navy is relatively large, with the province being the pride of the fleet, and lastly, the air force has 8 air wings made up of fighters, tactical bombers, close air support, and even some naval bombers. For army commanders, we got plenty of generals and a single field marshal, which is better than nothing. As for the navy, we got a single starting admiral. Not to worry though, because we can just consolidate the fleets and make one giant death stack. In the military research department, we're actually ahead in the weapons and equipment area. Other than that, we got motorized, up-to-date light tanks, artillery, anti-air, and anti-tank. For aircraft, a lot of stuff is up to the best level we can currently get. All of this tech comes together to make France one of the most advanced fighting forces in the world at the 1936 start date. We got a massive focus tree, but let's start off with full speed into the world, l'attachisme, and then go up and do l'état artistique. Avant-Garde France does lead a faction, and it is called League Solar. The other members are Caribbean Futurist and Fiume, who is nearby Italy. The territorial extent of France is not as large as it was in our timeline at this date. It still has parts of Africa, but I guess due to instability in the past decades, the French colonial possessions in Asia were lost. The new year is celebrated. Fireworks are fired from artillery cannons, bonfires are lit ablaze, and they are kept fueled by what is described here as primitive Renaissance art. Artaud, also referred to as Le Patron, which is his title, destroys a painting named The Annunciation in an unorthodox manner. The whole event seemed fun for him. One thing we're going to try to do is blitzkrieg the Germans, but first we need world tension to be at 25%. Right now it's at 0%, so we'll have to do whatever we can to get it higher. In the decisions tab, we have what is called a worldwide futurism category, which will let us send aid to our ally Fiume and the Cabcas Society, who is in the Caucasus region. Off the coast of Africa, Madagascar is thrown into turmoil due to the start of a 3-way civil war between opposing kingdoms. We're going to take an indifferent stance on the chaos in Madagascar unless it ends up involving the state of Diego Suarez, which we use as a port. A friend of old France, a former colonel who is part of a partisan movement against Le Patron, receives a letter from a person saying they can help overthrow Artaud. They ask him to deliver a letter to a street. Let's have him say yes. This could be a great move for the colonel and his ex-army supporters, who each have a score to settle since the army was abolished by Artaud. The will only in question, this concerns a small state above France. A futurist there requests military assistance in overthrowing the government. Let's give him open and full support. This will increase world tension by 5 points, which is great for us. In China, the Beiyang government fights the Japanese. Let's try to send them some volunteers as part of a plan to generate more world tension and get us to 25% faster. France seizes Wallonia. The Escadron, a political militia, march through the streets. St. Albans Cathedral is burnt down intentionally, and French art and theater will pour into this new surreal frontier. The Chinese said no to our volunteers. It's cool, since world tension is at 10% now, and we got a longer border with Germany out of this whole affair. Continuing the friend of old France, the French colonel awakes from a nightmare of haunting combat to be told the residence of Caen's mayor is on fire. fire. He also receives a mysterious box of pre-war cigars as a gift. Let's decide to continue working with this Artaud opposition figure despite the violent actions he carried out. The future of France. The friend and the colonel have a meeting. The friend wears strange clothes with thick cloth. But anyway, let's choose what France will be once Le Patron is gone. Let's go with a democratic republic, cause why not? We've sent some volunteers to Japan to help us side in the civil war going on there. Nothing too weird, we just have accelerationist soldiers helping vanguard socialists. Propaganda posters are being plastered all over the place that scream remember the republic and death to the avant-garde tyrant. The change is coming soon, it seems. Volunteers are sent to the Austrian Commune, a libertarian Marxist state fighting in the civil war. They may die, but who cares? We got the world tension to go up. There is some irony in helping countries that are similar in ideology to our rival, the German Socialist Republic. We got an event from the friend of both France's perspective. His name is Emmanuel. He drank some coffee he thinks is bad, but leaves a tip anyway. People stare at him, but no one can see his hidden face. Something is nagging at him in his mind, but he ignores this and goes to meet Maurice, the colonel. Emmanuel is not feeling well while meeting with the colonel. A chain tugs through his mind. He feels pain, but eventually comes to his senses. It turns out this so-called friend is actually Antonin Artaud himself. He chooses to play along, and when it comes to picking a place to strike, he points at the mansion of someone he doesn't like. The meeting ends, and Artaud, still in the skies, says they will meet again. In the focus tree, let's do the focuses, collaborate with the escadron, centralize corporate structure, and after those two, brutes with culture. The friend of old France has his final meeting with Maurice the Colonel, who ends up being tied to a pole and shot by a firing squad. The old status quo will not return. A new futurist faction that are big fans of Celtic pagan rituals are gaining influence in Brittany. They even formed a paramilitary group that dresses in nothing but the furs of wild animals. Let's warn them about the dangers of separatism. Korea is having a civil war. We're taking advantage of this by sending volunteers to both the conservative Korean Republic and the vanguard socialist Korean People's Republic. Due to going down the escadron path, the leader of the Asafal and some of his loyalists flee to Mauritania in Africa and declare an independent government there. The so-called Asafal territory of Mauritania will be separate from France, and I guess will do their own thing, whatever that may be. The Korean Republic has gone to war with the Korean People's Republic, and across the sea from all this fighting, the side we backed in the Japanese Civil War was victorious. The escadron experiences some infighting between the supporters of Pierre Clémenty and Marcel Bucard. Fighting is brutal with weapons being drawn. As a result of this internal struggle, we'll lose some base stability. It looks like the Korean Republic will dominate the peninsula. Honestly, it doesn't really matter who wins since it won't affect France too much. Let's do some focuses. They are Escadron for all, Guerre de Cocha. There are no gods but speed, and Artaud is his prophet and state beyond, labor or capital. We send volunteers to the United Kingdom, who finds itself in a war with the Ugandan commune. Honestly, it's going to be one-sided, but who cares? We got 25% world tension. Spain falls into a civil war. This unlocks a new focus for us, and it is called Adventure in Spain. We're going to start being aggressive. That's right, we're going to justify a war goal on Germany, and it will take 85 days to be ready. Soon you won't be smiling, Mr. Goebbels. Continuing down the focus tree, let's do Fast Sword of Islam for 4 free units, Heroic Capitalism, All National Front of Labor, and United for the Art. We have declared war on Germany, and we're bringing in our allies. This is not only a clash of countries, but also one of ideologies. There can only be one. We're having a little bit of success so far. The reason why we're attacking in January 1937 instead of waiting is because I think France initially has more units, so the longer we wait, the more time the Germans get to close that gap and get stronger. Austria requests aid. Let's go with the option on the left and say, of course. This means we'll guarantee their independence. Arabs arrive on the front to help the French in the conflict with Germany. With our efforts combined, that gives us a better chance of winning. Our 4 free colonial brigades have arrived from completing Fast Sword of Islam. That brings us to a total of 55 units in our army. Let's change the focus order a little by doing Culture of Speed and raise Street Warriors, because when it is completed, we'll get 3 motorized divisions. We're slowly taking West Germany. Even if we aren't winning every battle, just one victory will let us flood in motorized troops before the whole can be reinforced. We get a new flying ace from an event. One interesting thing that can be learned from this text is that the instructors of flight schools have been replaced by warrior priest. Ray's Street Warriors is done. That's 3 free motorized divisions that will be sent off to the front line. Our tanks are rolling into Berlin. I'm just now noticing their unique color scheme that reminds me of the dazzle camouflage ships used during World War I and a little bit in World War II. A peace conference has just come up concerning Luxembourg. Let's just make it into a puppet. That sucks for the German Socialist Republic. It appears that all their faction but Hungary has abandoned them. In the tree of focuses, let's do expand our ranks in the perverted societies and modernization without mercy. The German military is slowly collapsing. This will let us drive some trucks into Munich and maybe Nuremberg so that we can end the war. The foe is defeated and we set up the German state as our puppet. We're still at war with Hungary. We can't really get to them though currently. Let's turn our attention to the United Kingdom, a potential enemy that may attack us if we don't do a preemptive strike. They have Calais too, so yeah, we're going to want that back. They're really going all out on defending Calais. I mean, it's only 26 British divisions standing in one province. We get another event from the perspective of that flying ace from earlier. It consists of air-to-air combat between the French and the British. The French prevail and the way is clear for the bombers coming behind the fighters. Antonin Artaud de Le Patron makes a speech about the United Kingdom. He says Britain will be painted with bombs and says some odd things are to happen after the war is won. Our first divisions land in Scotland and northern England. Poland wants to send us some volunteers too. How nice of them. A large amount of divisions are being brought in to secure northern England. There are no British troops in Scotland, so we'll just have a couple units take the rest of it. Calais falls without much of a fight because all the soldiers that were there were sent back to defend the British Isles. More focuses, we will do Legacy of Revolution, Culture of Free Spirits, Oppose Vatican, then Communes of Love, and finally, invite new sects. The UK is sort of doing a D-Day to prevent them from taking more of France. We got some troops from Puppet Germany. We have isolated 5 divisions in Britain. Other than that, we are advancing to the south with the hope of taking Liverpool and maybe using motorized to seize London. The papacy is being purged in France and the government has encountered some pushback in the countryside. Papists are organizing mass prayer demonstrations and demanding a return to tolerance. We must take action, and that action will be to let them be. We're very close to London. Meanwhile, in France, we have lost our own capital. Let's hope the British are overextended. Regenerationist victory in Spain. That means the spooky skeleton man won. Gotta say, the bow tie really brings the look all together. Let's complete more focuses. They are a monopoly on reality. Here are the voices, all-knowing Patron, and here is a big one. Ban individual existence. The Tuareg Free Territory collapses in Africa. Because of that, we get a free desert. I hope you like sand. The UK has lost. What we're going to do is carve up their overseas possessions and satellite a lot of countries. Look at all those new puppets. This will give us a larger presence in Africa as well as India and Southeast Asia. Since we finally have some peace, let's do adventure in Spain and Austrian comrades. We'll do those focuses I listed earlier later. Opportunity in Spain. This will let us seize Catalonia. We'll do it and hope the regenerationists won't mind. The country's new school program is unveiled. It concludes that all human thought originates from a futurist singularity embodied by the one Le Patron. History books will start with the ascension of Antonin Artaud. Literature will consist of his writings, and mathematics will be geared towards preparing a new generation of engineers, architects, and mechanics. Back to focuses, let's complete ban individual existence, faster than time, collective dream, speed beyond space, and Irréel. Le Patron speaks to the void. Voices respond with, "We are all, we are within you." All are merely an extension of his soul. This news rocks the nation as people line up in the streets. Traitors are exposed, and in academia, many find themselves relying on what they call facts and logic to dismiss the truth. Treason will not be tolerated. One thing I forgot to point out earlier, Artaud's leader portrait will change depending on what political path you take. The one we got is for the Escadron. The Cabcast Society wants to join the League Solar. Let's say no because I don't want to deal with their wars in the future. We're still technically at war with Hungary, so sadly we'll have to justify a war goal on Austria to get to the Hungarians. Year 0, the calendar is redone. Now it has 6 stages. The most basic is the lunate, always greater than a second and always the same because apparently it is needless to specify by how much. All the rest of the stages are septs. The first sept is 5 unites because numbers are a sham now. The rest are sevens. Fiume is getting ready to go to war with Italy. We will help them and juggle that conflict with the one in Austria we're currently fighting. We just need Austria to capitulate and this will be so much more easier. État Irréel is done and France becomes known as l'État Irréel. Translated to English, I think this means the unreal state. With the proclamation of État Irréel, Le Patron says this is a declaration of war against reality itself. Every single element of society is to be considered an extension of Artaud himself. This has resulted in tears of joy and horror across the former state of France. Ooh, a super event. We even get a nice little quote with Artaud sharing his thoughts on a system of mathematics. Beginning the last focuses we will do are on ruins of old, warrior priests, children of the Patron. Let's go down a branch on the right and finish it off with embrace the countryside, rebirth of the Gnostic faith, techno-Catharism, fast Messiah, and an ominous one just named Faster that has quite a description. Austria lost and was made into a puppet. We'll keep some divisions on the Hungarian border, but most of our efforts will be focused on beating the Kingdom of Italy. The Italians got overwhelmed and we gave Fiume the entire peninsula. With that done, we're going to finish off Hungary. That surprisingly long-lasting conflict ends in a French victory. All of our rivals have been made into puppets, and the État Irréel-led League Solar faction dominates a good portion of Europe. The video is going to stop here. If you enjoyed the mod, make sure to check it out in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Have an awesome day. I'll see you later. Bye.